All right, hey, what's up, everybody? This is Los Angeles Chronicles, episode 13. Got a special guest on this one, Peter Salvia from Maryland, from Pasadena. This guy's like a Buddhist legend, Mahayana legend. He's a consultant. He's a video film. What's it called? You want to introduce yourself? I'm like struggling to introducing you. I'm kind of nervous around this legend right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think Malcolm, first of all, I'm just so humbled to be here. And I think, I just wanted to express my sincere gratitude to you for letting me appear on the Los Angeles Chronicles. This episode brought to you by Mama's Pizzeria of South Pasadena.
All right, first of all, this guy's got like a better radio voice than me, so bear with me. He's going to show me up. So we went to our gangster pizza shop before we got here, and he just gave them a shout out too. So.
It's the unofficial hangout of the Dharma Brothers Clubhouse. We have semi-annual meetings.
Mahayana brothers up in there, yeah. So
according to the bylines of the Brotherhood.
I'd put them up there with like the best in the area as far as this area code. So yeah, I'll give it to them.
Brought to you
Trophy
by
goes to them. So yeah,
Mama's Pizza, because bad pizza is a total waste of time. Mama's.
And who is Mama?
She's worth slapping. The pizza's so good.
She's the legend. Yeah. So it's brick oven kind of New York kind of stuff. That actually brings me to my first question for you is: do you eat Sicilian pizza? Being Sicilian yourself?
Yeah, avoid it like the plague.
You avoid it? Why?
Yeah.
Because of the texture or the?
It's weird. Like, have you had Sicilian pizza?
Yeah, I have. Not often, but I've had it before, and it was good. But
I feel like they've lost their way.
It was different.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. Being a Sicilian.
So it's acquired taste, or it's a thicker kind of pizza though. It's super thick, right?
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's a square. It's like you can't put the Wendy's hamburger square into a pizza form, can you? Or is that sacrilegious to the pizza experience?
Well, no, I think Little Caesars does that really well.
With that square,
the square is cool, but then like the toppings that are messy. Like, I grew up as a Pizza and Taco Express alumnus. That was one of my jobs during high school. I got to know how to make hand-tossed pizzas, and we didn't hand-toss the tacos, but we also made the tacos by hand.
But could you flip the dough up into the air and do the spin?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, you got to get torque.
Okay, I worked at Papa John's, but it was enough just to have a part-time. It was I couldn't do that yet. I didn't learn the dough thing.
The brothers that own Pizza and Taco Express just threw caution to the wind, letting us high schoolers toss dough.
And this is in Maryland, right?
Yeah, this is in Annapolis, Maryland.
Okay, so this guy's a fellow East Coast person, like an East Coast, West Coast, another person, like, Maryland. What city are you from in Maryland too?
Yeah, Annapolis, Maryland.
And that you're from Annapolis, right? And that's the capital, or the
Annapolitan.
Or is Baltimore the capital?
Baltimoreans, which I did reside in Baltimore.
Baltimoreans. No, I wanted to do an impression, like Al Pacino impression, like Baltimore. What is that, Baltimore?
Yeah. Who wants to go there?
Yeah.
Not this guy. I lived there. It was cool. Don't get me wrong. Love Baltimore.
Don't you have any pride? Where are you from? I'm from South
The Wire, which is objectively the best television show of all time.
What is set over there? Or
takes place in Baltimore. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the story of many things.
And what kind of people, or like people you grew up with that kind of like resonated with you, or
people that resonated with me that I grew up with? Well,
do the characters? Did you watch the show and be like, that reminds me of my neighbor or my coworker, or?
Oh man, I know. It just kind of reminded me of like my friends in high school. It's like either where I was from, it seemed like either you were, you went into construction, or you did other things that were not legal as construction, or you made it out. And I'm just so thankful that I made it out.
So it's rare when you make it out of that small town there.
Yeah, they're all due respect to the people where I'm from. Like, a lot of them have multi-generations that have just never left like a small radius of the country, and like driving to the eastern shore of Maryland is like a big trip. That's 2.5 hours away. Woo! And I remember before I was going to drive across country to California, I was like, man, if I can't drive to the beach, I'm going to be in trouble because I'm about to drive 3,000 miles. And so I just ponied up and was like, one day I'm like, okay, I've never done this before, but I'm just going to drive to the beach until I get there. And
so you meant drive to the West Coast to the Pacific Ocean beach, or this is Maryland was the stepping stone?
Yeah. Let's put it in perspective. Like growing up there, right? Like a drive to the Atlantic Ocean from Annapolis, Maryland, is probably like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive. Not including traffic or whatever. So like call it 180 miles away.
So to them, going to the beach is a big deal, and you're like, "Are you really going to go there?" And
all the way to the beach? Yeah, the entire way.
Yeah.
And so, like, I just, I mentally prepared myself, and now that I'm here living in California since 2011. Like,
2011. He's been. You're basically Angelino too.
Oh
so
man, I'm home now, brother. I'm home.
Yeah. I mean, hey, welcome back. So, I definitely don't see you going back to. I mean, it's kind of like me. I've been there, done that, and it's more of the only thing I didn't do where I'm from in South Carolina was have kids and have the family and everything. Everything else I did already. Like
yeah. How's it feel being on the West Coast?
I'm the one asking the questions here, man.
Oh, okay. Keep me in line, right?
Next question is okay. Gangs of New York or There Will Be Blood. If you
Gangs
had
of New York,
you would pick that. Like if you had to be on an island with like a DVD player, and
if I had to watch only one thing over and over again, I watched Gangs of New York in the theater 3 times.
Yeah, he did, you guys. So I mean,
There Will Be Blood may be infinitely more quotable.
Man, that was
Daniel Day-Lewis is finished.
I mean, yeah, they're both like spectacular. If you haven't seen that, then stop this podcast and go watch the movies.
Yeah, like per the rules of this podcast, I am not allowed to drink your milkshake. You're the one asking the questions. I get it, but challenge accepted, Malcolm.
Yeah, that was man, that was unreal. That was excellent movies right there.
Which would you pick?
Actually, it's There Will Be Blood for me.
And
it's not the most watchable movie. It's just some of it's hard to watch, but it's just so good. And it seems like on the holidays when everybody's with their families, I'd watch that movie and just zone out. That's just me. And every time when I'm reaching for the DVD, I'm like, man, this guy's crazy. Before I even watch it, that's
agree to disagree, of course.
Yeah,
you have your opinion, which you're obviously
that's my
entitled
opinion,
to be wrong having. But There Will Be Blood is one of those movies where I feel like you can just start watching it at any moment. For myself, I'll speak for myself.
It's good if you just
and then
start
you're just like, oh, this is the part where he kills his fake brother. Cool, I can watch it. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert. There's a fake brother in the movie that he kills. It's rad. They go swimming first. He's polite about it. But you start at towards the end and you're in the bowling alley and you're like, how did they get here? And
but the music and the directing, everything's just like flawless. That's what I'm trying to say. It was just that everything was on top of the game, and then the whole vibe throughout the whole movie. I guess it lasts like 2.5 hours, but I mean,
my understanding
for me to choose that over a Scorsese movie, that's just my opinion. But
hey,
I mean, I got a good Scorsese collection right there of all the best ones. Mean Streets, and
I know your filmography chops and style. I have ultimate respect for.
Thanks, man.
To speak outside of school for a little bit, one of my friends when I worked at Disney, he worked with Paul Thomas Anderson's dad.
Oh, really? Okay.
Who was an audio mixer.
His dad was an audio mixer?
And so he would see Paul Thomas Anderson come into the audio booth like as a kid and like grow up around it. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so I think with all respect for what you're doing here with your podcast and all the skills you're learning and like the goods you're doing for people having to be on here, and like I appreciate all that. Like this is the kind of skill where like people grow up around it and they hear what good stuff sounds like, and then they become Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay, yeah. So it's kind of like building the foundation, like a do-it-yourself thing, and have people or people you're acquainted with. That's what I do. Like for me, like it's whoever's just standing right next to me is like, hey, I got a podcast. The next thing you know, they're on it. It's kind of like a street kind of thing what I'm doing. So
well,
and
it's just
some
like
people that,
you got a rocket ship, strap yourself on and take off, brother. Like I think what you're doing is great. And
thanks,
I think you had a really wise person suggest this to you. I'm so stoked to see you following through with it and excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, and another thing too, it wasn't just like, you want to have a podcast event about whatever you're thinking about, but it was also with the intentions of like helping others too. So that's what we're about with the like that episode. Like hey, should I let them vent? Kind of like that. Like should I let you vent? Like
yeah.
yeah.
Thanks to Mama's Pizza for filling our bellies and providing us with the motivation to have this excellent conversation. I'd like to say our secondary sponsor at this moment is brought to us by LaCroix. It's the.
Is it pronounced LaCroix?
Is that not how you say it?
LaCroix. Is it LaCroix? I think it's LaCroix.
Is
like
it Los
the
Angeles Croix? L.A. Croix?
I think it's pronounced LaCroix French.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure.
I don't want to get our sponsor's name wrong.
I can be bought. What's that from? I'm a disciple too. Yeah,
it's the 000 of sparkling waters.
And it's like the blackberry flavor, or it is, right?
It's black raspberry with 2 Z's.
Cool. Even better, yeah.
Not to put you to sleep with.
So speaking of food, next question is soft batch Chips Ahoy cookies or the golden Oreo cookies?
Damn,
if you had to choose.
I mean, you said you were going to ask me questions. You didn't say they were going to be hard. Okay, do I get to, is it like, can you give me some context? Like, do I have, you just like, okay, I'm thinking too much.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's no.
I'm going to go golden Oreos.
Yeah, because I saw you bought them for everybody before, so
yeah,
kind of gave me the idea of asking you.
Thank you.
And I mean, they're both good. They're American, soft batch Chips Ahoy and golden.
The golden Oreos just have more substance. The soft batch, you plow through like a fistful of them, But the golden Oreos is like each one is its own experience to be unraveled and enjoyed.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good invention of Oreo cookies to make like the golden one, And
right.
Because some of the stuff they're coming out with, I was in the CVS last night and they have like, I mean, I don't mean to gross you out, but they have the gummy bear, the sweet and sour Oreo cookie of the, help me out, what's the sour gummy?
Sour Patch Kids
Sour Patch Oreos.
Is that possible?
That makes no sense to me.
Did you get some?
No, I didn't get it. I just looked at it and I'm like, are you serious? And
well, I know you're looking for a sponsor for the next episode, so maybe they can pony up and you can talk a bit with
them. But that's a different story if they sponsor me and if I eat enough to get sick or whatever.
Yeah. Well.
But I do like this,
worth investigating.
Yeah, the sweet and sour. Actually, I've been cutting down on the gummy stuff and I feel better, actually. Like all the fruit snacks and been cutting down. I feel better, man, so.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, I was telling people I started eating kale and the collagen powder, like the Chuck Norris. I couldn't afford his roundhouse kick powder, so then that's the name of the powder, right?
That's the name of the powder.
Yeah. So I watched the commercial. I was like, it's a real happening commercial, and then I just I go to Walmart and get the ingredients like kale and collagen powder, and then just eat that. And then my mind was faster, so it wasn't just Chan. It was actually like what I was eating at the same time too. So.
That sounds like it gives you a kick.
Yeah. Okay, are you ready for this one? Don't tell mom the
babysitter is dead.
Correct, sir.
The dishes are done, dude.
It's actually man, right? Dishes are done, man.
You're right.
Yeah. If you want to get like critical or what.
Thank you.
That's in my top 5 comedies. And that's got to be in the top 5.
I mean, the babysitter is super hot, so.
Like, oh yeah.
Score.
super dead.
She's also dead. Don't tell anybody. Definitely don't tell mom.
Well, the title gave away, like, the title is the spoiler.
But it's what happens.
That was a cult right there. Like, anybody who's seen that at school, like, you either seen that or you haven't seen it. So.
There was a whole run of like babysitter centric, late 80s, early 90s movies, like,
No, Keith Coogan, he was in Adventures in Babysitting.
Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah, he came from that anyway, so it's kind of weird that he was
the precursor to Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter is
Okay,
dead.
my parents worked with that guy. Did I tell you? Like they're telemarketers with him in 1999 when we lived in Sherman Oaks.
Really?
So then I can't believe I didn't tell you at the lunch table or anything. So it was Keith Coogan, and okay, at the end when he was like all preppy and like he just magically like turned into a more presentable version of himself.
Yeah.
I guess to get girls or straighten out himself, right? So then the headshot he signed, he said the dishes are done, man, to Malcolm. And I wish I had that damn. It's one thing I wish I still had it, but he looked like the more handsome and preppy version or something in the it was a headshot thing. So yeah.
Well, this is critical information. I'm glad we covered it.
Okay, so now that's now. Okay, so And then you already said like where you're from in Maryland, so
side note
yeah.
on babysitter
Alright.
stories. I got my first story in the 3rd grade published because it was a story about my idealistic babysitter. And I already had it picked out. I said it would be the older sister from Family Ties, and she would buy us McDonald's
Mallory.
chicken. Yeah.
Mallory. Okay.
I didn't know her name, but I just knew who she was.
Yeah, you knew the show from growing up watching it, right?
Yeah, Michael J.
Okay,
Fox's
yeah.
older sister in the show would be my perfect babysitter, and she would buy us McDonald's chicken nuggets and let us stay up and watch movies.
And that's when you were in 3rd grade, and you wrote like a paper about that.
My mom was so proud. She's like, "Look, they put it in this book."
It was published where again?
At Germantown Elementary.
Into the
Germantown Elementary Firefly book of stories that they published to tell moms that their child's story had been published book.
I mean, what would be a better babysitter than like Mallory from Family Ties? Anyway, she looks like she'd be the best choice.
I mean, she's well dressed. She's always wearing blazers, so she's going to impress your parents. She's hot, so you're like, sweet.
Yeah, so she's got the presentation and the babysitter skills because she was like...
She might sit next to you on the sofa while you're watching the movie and eating McDonald's. She got you McDonald's.
Because she was the one like telling everybody what to do on that show too. Like you do, designating people and
Yeah.
Like she had to show up Michael J. Fox before he was in. He had to do that and Back to the Future simultaneously, and like at 2:00 in the morning, Back to the Future. And
what a balancing act.
Yeah. And Brian Bonzel, I went to school with him.
Really?
The little brother, the
little brother.
Yeah, in 3rd grade when I was in Studio City, like he was in my class.
The kid,
he was in my real class when you had every day.
He was living the fantasy I was writing about that got published in the Germantown Elementary.
Yeah, so that.
Yeah. Wow.
And you see what happened to him. Like he had a tattoo on his neck, a butterfly. Before the neck tattoos were cool. Now they're cool, but people are getting them removed too. But the butterfly tattoo, right? He had on his neck, and he used to cover like No Effects Linoleum on YouTube or whatever. But then these critics were in there. They was like, this is Hollywood royalty right here. He can't be getting a tattoo like that. And then he didn't have a job after that. So.
It's like, tell me that I can't.
Yeah. I mean, it was after Blank Check, and then he was in a horror movie called Mikey, and then that's when he was in school with me. And it was kind of like The Good Son, but before The Good Son came out.
Oh man.
Like the kid that kills people around him or whatever, Mikey. That was.
I had this idea pop into my head. I don't know if you remember the Life cereal commercials where like the little brother's name is Mikey. And
the cinnamon.
Yeah, they're like, I think he likes it.
Yeah, I remember the commercial. It was from the 80s or the 90s.
I think he likes it. And so then the horror movie called Mikey would be like, I think he likes it. And then he pulls a spoon out and it's like this knife and he starts stabbing people. No?
That could work, but I did see it, but it's kind of a disturbing kind of, if that's kind of style. The Good Son, you've seen that with Macaulay Culkin when he becomes like the bad kid.
Yeah, it's
you've seen that, right?
Home Alone, but worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about movies now, but back in our time, they were kind of edgy, So.
You know about There Will Be Blood, so you know about movies now.
Yeah, but I don't know about like recently, like what's going to come out now in theaters or anything. If you know any recommendations, or do you keep up with stuff like that? Or?
Oh yeah. I started going back to the movie theater after the pandemic for
So anything going on right now that you want to recommend to the audience or anything?
I do recommend Dune 2 in the theater.
What's it called?
Dune,
like
Part 2.
A sand dune and get trapped in quicksand or something, right?
That's correct. You can get your accompanied Dune 2 worm-shaped popcorn dispenser. You can reach into the worm for your popcorn. It's an experience.
Like a gummy worm too,
or if you haven't, yes, I see what you did there. Sour Patch Kids worm too. I think other movies are coming out. Civil War. I'm going to say it now. It's in a podcast. It's being recorded for posterity. Best Picture of the Year. That's my Producers Guild of America vote cast in advance for the record. And
I think you and Alex were talking about some kind of anime film that you liked. Or am I right? Or
yeah, Alex was. Yeah, Alex is really into anime. We've been talking about a whole bunch. Oh, it was Miyazaki's movie about stuff that people understand. It's like a kid walks into a thing and then stuff happens and then is it real or not? But then his mom did come back or didn't.
And it sounds Japanese, like Saki or something.
Miyazaki-san, yeah.
It's Japanese anime, right? So yeah.
I want to say yes. I should know, but I don't. So I'm just gonna caveat with I hope so.
Yeah, because I know you're really in touch with the Asian culture.
Why do you say that?
Because I kind of
Why do you
wanted
say
to
that, Malcolm?
kind of wanted to talk about that. So it was like
Sure. Let me
one of
culturally
my
appropriate
questions
on
is
your
like, okay,
podcast
yeah,
right
it's like,
quick.
was it like being an American and then applying the dharmas of Master Shinhwa and Master Yonghua to your life, especially in the modern times? And we can talk about that, and you kind of back up a little bit, but or you can talk about how you found the Dharma. I mean, I'm open to whatever.
Oh wow,
So, yeah.
wow.
I know that's a big subject. So yeah,
That's a, the Dharma is vast.
exactly that word. This is a simple word, vast, but it's like it's an umbrella, So we're students, and if you don't know, like this is my Dharma brother. It's like a spiritual same spiritual path, except he's like been in this path longer than me. I'm still kind of the new guy, so this is we're disciples of Master Yonghua.
6 years later, you're still the new guy.
Yes,
that's how it works, right?
4 years for me, but every day is like a learning.
It's only been 4 years.
Time flies by. 4 years, so yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, so wait, so what's the question? Like, how did I encounter Buddhism?
Not even that, but I mean, I know the answer to that one, but not everybody listening is going to know the whole story. So, but what's it like being like American, like being white, and then being around, like we're like basically like the minority around all the Asians that were. I mean, if in the big picture, but
Sure.
What's it like? Because we're applying like the teachings that we learn, like me and you both pretty much get it. We're like, okay, I understand means like I agree, or like my mind likes this, you know what I mean? Like when this makes sense to me, this is Buddhism's logical to me, but at the same time too, you're applying it to your life, I'm applying it to my life, and it's the more you do that, the more better your life is, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, to share, like, when I moved to LA, I came to this town to try and, make it in Hollywood. And I had like 10 years of experience or so in media entertainment back east, which is, LA is like the mecca for like making films and making TV shows and all that stuff. And it's definitely next level when you drive yourself out here and try and plant a flag in the sand and say, hey, hire me, I'm worth talking to, I may be able to contribute something. And it was a slog, had some early successes, had some early setbacks, like the whole up and down of it can be a lot. And I think it was around 2014 where I had someone share a Vietnamese newspaper advertisement for a Sharira exhibit, and I'm like, I don't know.
See, that's the Buddha's relics, so
yeah,
this is in Burbank, and
I mean, I can tell that story too, for sure.
Or when you found the flyer or something, and you're like, okay, I want to go check this out.
Well, it's because I played soccer when I was little, and I got these ingrown toenails.
No, I have too. And you're talking about pain. That's a lot of pain right there too. So.
Oh yeah, because like my friends would always make fun. All my pale faced comrades would just be like, Pete's got the big toe. He just boots it with his big toe, which is like the way you're not supposed to kick a soccer ball, apparently, which I'm like, well, my soccer ball goes way farther than your soccer ball, so they couldn't tell me what I knew. Little did I know I was forever impairing my big toes for future pain with ingrown toenails from all of my big toe booting. So the trick was on the trick was on me.
Yeah, that surgery is painful right there. I've had it on mine. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, you can have surgery? No kidding. So I was just like going to.
Well, they put it to sleep, but I mean, it's a shot that really hurts, and it's like
Yeah. That sounds sure. Like so I had just been going to get I'd find a place I could get a pedicure and be like all like kind of weird and like, oh my god, I showed up for a pedicure. Is that okay? And then sometimes it was. It's always okay. They're like, they'll take your money, but whether you're sitting in the right environment or not. But I found this place in Cali Nails, rest in peace. They went out of business.
They did in Burbank.
I think they sold the business early this year, but they were like a second family to me in so many ways. It was a bunch of Vietnamese sisters who had a nail salon for like, I want to say close to 30 years. And they were always like so nice. And one of the ladies she'd always like take care of me and help me through all like the gnarly pain of like ingrown toenails, and she started talking to me about Buddhism. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I learned about that and comparative religions, and when I was in high school, like I've heard of it. And she just tell me some stuff, and we would talk about it more and more. And I guess like
so you had like a high school class, and you kind of heard some basics about different religions or something, or
yeah, that's the way they could legally get things that weren't Christian religions into the curriculum in the school districts, right? They could be like, well, you're comparing them like a Venn diagram, so that's okay, right? That's not, I'm not pushing anything on anybody, but so it was like Hinduism and Buddhism and Judaism and Islam and all the quote unquote other religions, and so I had some exposure, but I'd always wanted to like check it out. And she, over the course of the year or two that we started to get to see each other once a month or whatever it was, she's like, finally, oh well, if you want to really check it out, Peter, like here's this ad in this Vietnamese newspaper, you can go to this temple, and then they're gonna have this thing with this stuff there, and you can check it out. And I was like, well, buy the ticket, take the ride, like I guess try new things. And and
that was Blue Mountain Temple.
That was Blue Mountain Temple, yeah, just a few blocks down the street from us where we are now. And you asked like what it was like being exposed to the culture. It was I think I was the only Caucasian person in the temple. There were like about 50 to 100 people at any given time, checking things out and experiencing the relics and all that stuff. And everyone was like so nice. And, I talk about like how the slog in LA can be really tough and brutal on you.
What's that word? Slog, S-L-O-G, slog?
Yeah, we'll go with that spelling. Kind of like, like you're in the Alaskan wilderness and you've got a bunch of dogs on the front of your sled and you're going, mush, or whatever you say.
Oh, okay.
Mosh. Well, it's like a slog.
Okay, my stepdad called it the LA hustle.
Yeah,
this
sure.
Is the LA hustle.
Yeah.
With that voice, yeah.
And so, you get kind of brutalized and you can get shell-shocked from a lot of the, I'm not saying like bad things happening, but it's like it's stressful. You got deadlines, you got big budgets, and you got big personalities, and everybody's just like, I get it done, me all the time. And it's like, that's kind of what you sign up for.
Okay,
but
yeah.
to then encounter people who were just like genuinely nice, and they're like, would you like some food? And you're like, I like
it's
food.
kind of, to me, that was like a different planet. Like,
yeah, and like well,
because it was like, to me, my reaction was like, that's not how the world works. Like, who is this kind person to me?
And so it's like, you're here, and here we are in Monterey Park or Rosemead or whatever we are on the border, and you kind of go in to a Buddhist temple, and suddenly you've like exited the LA hustle by just crossing the threshold, and now I've got this really nice Vietnamese lady who's like offering me home cooked food. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but it smells really good and I'm hungry, and she's not asking me for money, and she just wants to make me feel full. And it was disarming and comforting and welcoming and wonderful. And honestly, one of the first impressions, first impressions are so important, but just the community of people at the temple at the time were so nice. And it just made me feel like, regardless of how I felt around the relics or I felt about Buddhism, I was like, well, I think, just going there is like cool, because
the whole vibe and everything, right? Like,
yeah, when I early in my time here in LA, I was out at a bar getting food after work, and you're always working late hours in VFX, and it's like you're getting like tacos at 10:30.
So it sounds like a straight up beat down then, right?
Yeah, and like, you just, whoever sits down next to you is kind of who you talk to. And I remember this one lady was like, yeah, LA is when you look here in Burbank, Peter, like look at all of the, every block is like fourplexes, eightplexes, duplexes, and it's all people living in close quarters next to each other, and nobody talks to each other. So it's just this town of lonely people. And I was like,
kind of like that, but then you got people like you that talk to everybody, right? So.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I was only talking to her because she talked to me at the bar where I was trying to get tacos at 10:30 at night. I wasn't like.
Was it the Snug Bar in Burbank? That's the one I used to go to. That was
It's the.
I knew the people there.
That's the saloon. It's got the saloon doors. I don't know if it's still there anymore.
On Magnolia or the
on Burbank.
Okay, yeah.
On Burbank, yeah. I should know the name, man, boy. Near Tony's Darts on Burbank. Shout out to Tony's Darts. They got board games you can play for free. It's rad.
I'm still a Burbankian at heart, by the way, so shout out to Burbank real quick.
Yeah, much love for
Burbank. No,
Burbank.
for real. Like that's the longest I've lived there anywhere was Burbank. It was a good 12 years, so yeah.
Burbank gets a bad rap in the press, but it's actually an incredibly nice place to hang out. but yeah, she kind of painted that picture for me, and so I was like, yeah, like LA is this big kind of lonely hustle where you live in close proximity to so many people, and you're always like trying to like find some way to connect, but it's not like the small towns that I grew up in back east where you have neighbors and you have neighborhoods and you grew up with people and blah blah blah. It's like, no, people come here from all over and they're all like self-interested, trying to make it, and it's just a different vibe and a different MO, for like just your day-to-day interactions. And so coming to the temple for the first time and having people just being like genuinely nice to you and just it was just so like refreshing and disarming. I think that was just like that was my first impression, Malcolm. It was just
so. Did you think you deserved that, or was it?
Absolutely
no, sometimes
not.
my reaction was like, I don't deserve this, man. It's like
yeah,
I could be, because I knew like the direction I was going to. I could have like fallen down so hard, and
sure,
yeah, I got lucky. So.
Yeah, no, I did not feel like I deserved it in any way, shape, or form, which I think probably made it even more special. Like
maybe like what I believe is like you had it in your past life, or you. I mean, that's what I believe is like you're probably taught in your other life, and then you came back to it.
Sure, my free lunch blessings came to fruition. Yeah. But they were really vegetables, so did they vegetate? I don't know. I can't tell you.
Okay, real quick. This guy's Master calls him the Riddler. So what he just said, like, I'm gonna have to listen to this episode 5 more times to get just to get that joke.
It's okay.
So
you like kale, you'll get it.
Yeah. So today is like your favorite food is kale. What's wrong with you? I was like, dude, my new favorite food is this pizza and kale. And you're like, are you serious? Are you serious?
Yeah, what do you slather it down with? Ranch.
Ranch?
Isn't that's what you're slathering it
ranch.
with?
Yeah, it's like the Ken's dressing, ranch dressing.
Do you dip the raw kale,
I'm actually I'm sponsored by Ken's ranch dressing. No, you just put it on there and put Kirkland pepper on top of it, and the croutons and the
additional sub-sponsors. Yeah. Costco Kirkland pepper.
Yeah, it's like a tie-in. You know what a tie-in is, right? Like this goes with this. Yeah.
What Malcolm really meant was Ken's buttermilk ranch, because it makes it buttery smooth going down with your raw kale.
Well, it's got that bite to it, so
the pepper makes it a speed bumpy ride.
I forgot like what nutrient it's got, like vitamin K or vitamin A or something like that.
It's not vitamin K. I don't know what it is.
No, it's like it's got more potassium than the bananas or something, though, so it's good for you.
Just shout out to Kale University, because my niece Tiana graduated from Yale.
She graduated?
She graduated from Yale. Yeah, she said.
I thought she's still going.
She said it was University of Phoenix online at Yale University during the pandemic. But
yeah, congratulations.
I've gotten fooled so many times by people who attended Kale University with the same font.
So is that kind of like the DeVry of Kale, like the for-profit college version of it's like here at DeVry we have the best.
It's the ITT Tech of Yale. It's Kale. It's better for you though. You won't get all stressed out and hate life.
Yeah. So you used to some of the success you had in LA, it was like working in YouTube though, right? Like YouTube Nation, even though it had like a lot of turmoil going on too, like ups and downs. So I mean, you did work at YouTube technically though. So you
well, it was a co-production of YouTube and DreamWorks Animation. So I think what was different about that show is that Jeffrey Katzenberg, you may have heard of him from such places as Disney, and then DreamWorks Animation, and now what was it? I can't remember.
That's like a Jewish name then, Katzenberg? Or like,
he is the largest single donator to the Democratic Party of all time. I think he got
as far as like one person, or like
correct, yeah.
Okay, because you
largest individual donor. Thank you.
Because you worked for them too, like the Democratic donorship, or what was it called, or
Democratic National Committee.
Oh, you worked for them, right?
I did.
DNC.
I was an employee of the DNC. Yeah.
Okay. But I want to ask you, like, when you worked at YouTube Nation or something, and you used like the skills that you learned from YouTube to bring that to like for Master Youngwater, like bring like a broader audience, right?
What a nice transition, Malcolm.
Did I say it in the right words? Or
sure, I love it. Yeah, that was
like
great.
What I'm thinking is like, okay, I can do this. I'm going to use this for something good, rather than like to make their company bigger than what they are, like Alphabet or whatever. You know,
something my dad like really impressed on me growing up was he he always volunteered for the Optimist Club International, and
What's it called? Optimus?
yeah, Optimist Club or Optimist International. It's just like, it's like one of those civic organizations you see on the signs when you enter a town on the East Coast. It's like Optimist Clubs, Elks, yada yada. I can't remember all of them right now.
Yeah, the Elks Lodge or something.
Yeah, Elks Lodge. Yeah. Like there's a bunch that'll be on the signs, and he was always like my coach and volunteered and helped a lot of people and helped a lot of youths, and gave them something to do after school or during the day and during the weekends, and so talking to some of the Sangins here at when this is like 2014 2015, I saw an opportunity just to give and to help and to offer my expertise and support them.
So back up a little bit, like that's when they were already on YouTube, right? So then they had like just a like not even a good digital camera on a stand, and then Master was speaking Dharma, and then that would for an hour, and that would be on YouTube, right?
They had a handy cam that was recording to.
That was a handy cam. I used to have one. So
yeah. Sony Handycam for all of the Gen Zers out there. It was ancient technology where you recorded to a flash memory card, and then on the flash memory card you had to transfer the file by removing the card from the camera and putting it into
that's
a
longer
hard drive
process,
on a computer, and then you'd upload it, and then it was like they were archiving it on like Google Drive or I don't even know. And then I said, well, you could use Google Meet and just stream it live, and they were like, okay, rad. And it was like right around that time.
So that was like right when they were having like live streams when you said that?
Yeah, YouTube started allowing the public to live stream around that time. We were already doing YouTube Nation. That was not a live show. That was uploaded daily. We did like 400 episodes or so.
Because I remember like YouTube made it big. Like, people started watching as far as I know, like 2007 or 2006, right?
Yeah. It was when Google purchased them. That's when I was working at other.
And what I liked about it is like, okay, I can watch all my music videos, and I want to see this music video. That's just me, So I got excited about that, and then that's where.
Yeah, I mean, it just grew all this momentum. It's just this, this force of nature, and I think hopefully one day a public utility, because it's just such a powerful medium that helps so many people, and a little bit of regulation would go a long way to make it accessible and available to everybody, just like public broadcasting, in my opinion. But
so when they started like the live chats with Master, that was that during like the Lu Mountain Temple days with the Six Patriarch Sutra, and that would be on like a live chat, or that was
it was every Dharma talk, and then the Sangins were just kind of trying to do the best they could with a single camera and the mics they had, and then over time, some investment, but we just started growing the channel, one Sutra talk, one Dharma talk at a time.
And then you've been keeping up with the numbers and everything since then?
We just surpassed our first million views on the channel.
Yeah, so how many is a million views?
They send you like a sticker on the, YouTube's like, look, you got 1 million views.
Yeah, so we all saw that with our group, and that was really cool. So yeah, congratulations. That's a big deal. Milestone.
Yeah, so happy for Master and the Sangins for that one. It's cool to see people getting to access the Dharma, and getting to access really information that otherwise wouldn't be available if Master didn't make it publicly available for free, no ads. It's there. You can go to, just look for Master Yanghua on YouTube. I'm sure you can put a link in the description or whatever, Malcolm, just to help people find it if they're listening.
Yeah, and if you're listening to it right now, like, please subscribe to Master Yanghua on YouTube.
I didn't have to say it.
Yeah, this time he's not saying it. Like, he's known for saying. And then also to subscribe to Ninja Checkmate. That's my webpage.
First and foremost, please subscribe to Ninja Checkmate, one of the best YouTube handles on YouTube.
Oh yeah, and then but no, that's really cool, because this is like how I live my life. Is I meditate every day and do chant every day. So then I'll listen to the Dharma like while I do that. So then it has to do with like what I do, is because like if I'm looking for the Heart Sutra, or like right now I'm listening to a lot of those, that has to do with like you setting that up, right? Like, I mean,
it's pretty profound.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
Like the thing that still blows my mind, right, is like, if you know anything, I'll just presume that whoever's listening still at this point doesn't know much about the history of Buddhism. And so the way Dharma talks started was like the Buddha would sit in a natural amphitheater, and then quadrillions of inconceivable beings, both physically present and spiritually present, would show up and listen. Imagine if, 3,000 years ago, there was like 3 cameras and a mixer and a live stream. Because, like, you couldn't make it to this galaxy.
Like recorded of the Buddha.
Yeah, you couldn't make it to this galaxy, but you could catch the stream in your galaxy's time zone at a later date. And then if you didn't catch it because you were busy saving countless living beings wherever you were, you could watch it in retrospect. And like, to me, that's kind of the mission, right? It's like, hey, you may not be ready for the Dharma now. You may not be ready to listen to it 10 years from now, but 20 years from now, as long as
or in your next life or something, if you can come back and...
I mean, goodness gracious, if everything goes okay and YouTube is still existing 50 years from now or 100 years from now, you could technically go and check it out. And like, that's just like so humbling, to be able to contribute.
No, I didn't think of it like that, because like 3,000 years ago, there's no way there was any cameras or anything, right? So then now here we are with a podcast and YouTube.
We got books and two pale faces talking about it.
Yeah, but like picture 100 or 1,000 years from now, and what technology is going to be like, and then of course, I can't say for sure, but like, let's hope there's still the Dharma. So then it'll be like they'll listen to the Dharma from 100 years ago and be like, okay, he said this.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy got the future right. Like, they'll have some kind of crystal thingamajoogie that pops into your wrist screen and then imbues you with information from the past, and you're just like, oh, cool, got it now. Like, something like that'll happen.
So then the Buddha of the future, by the time he comes into practice to teach for that one day, Maitreya Buddha, what I mean? Like, like,
future Buddha could have a whole template for his YouTube channel. That like, what a help. He doesn't have to start from scratch. He can be like, oh, here's a template, copy, paste, change some metadata tags.
Yeah, and it'll just be recorded, like, ready to go, like, when he comes. Because he's going to, according to the teachings, he's going to be teaching for, like, one day, and if you're there and have the blessings to be there, then you'll be enlightened, right?
We'll have the run books. They'll know how to get their stream keys. They'll be able to use OBS. Everything's already figured out for you, future Buddha. Just a small contribution to the future YouTube channel that you will future speak Dharma about.
Or by then it might be something different, or, just different video name. OBS, what's that?
Open broadcasting software.
Oh, okay.
It's a free thingamajoogie that you can use for free to broadcast on YouTube for free. Everybody uses it. It's cool.
All right. So what? I got something like, so what was one of your early spiritual experiences? Like, was it with Mahayana or at Blue Mountain Temple, or was it something else? Like an early experience from Peter?
An early experience. Here's one. Like, in my early 20s, I was struggling with depression and struggling to make it through getting my bachelor's degree. And
that's the English major, right?
English major, yeah. That wasn't the cause of the depression. I think, other things were the cause of the depression.
Hey, man, Ernest Hemingway, like, he was depressed, so that's got to be something going on with, like...
Yeah, he had that going for him, right? So, and I was really struggling just to kind of figure out life, and I know a lot of young people now are too. And a spiritual experience I had during that time was I was just kind of like, I was writing by hand a lot. I was drawing a little bit. I'm not like an artist per se, but I was drawing, and I think I just kind of went into like a meditative state. And one of the words that came out that I kept writing was Tao, 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 like T-A-O, T-A-O, yeah. T-A-O.
Is it pronounced like Tao with a D? Or Tao? I think it's like Tao, right?
Well, we're in America, so you can decide.
So we're in America, and I can say Tao if I want to, or what?
You're in America. That's pronounced Tao.
Actually, Maryland was the most northern state, right?
It's
technically, or
it's southern efficiency with northern charm, per John F. Kennedy.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's how he described that area.
Yeah.
The worst of both worlds.
So you're in college and you're writing Tao.
Yeah, and I found some relief with that. And I think, if I had to guess, knowing what I know now about the eighth consciousness and the Vajra store, and how experiences from our past lives can be ultimately recorded for all future lives and stored in there and stuff, which is pretty cool. I think I probably planted some seeds, and in my time of need, Tao came through and helped me get some clarity in that moment. And I didn't go like on some Buddhist rampage after. I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna just like change myself, and this is radical. No, I just kind of got off the couch.
But did it give you some kind of like mental relief, like kind of how like after the repentance, or you feel lighter, like a lighter kind of thing?
Yeah, I got off the couch. That was a huge move.
Hey man, for an American to get off the couch, sometimes that's a milestone too. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody who's experienced depression and experienced struggling as a young person and just trying to find their way, and you find yourself on the couch and kind of not being able to get off it for weeks at a time.
No, yeah, I do know what it's like to like why should I get out of the bed today? Kind of like, I mean, I've kind of,
you know what I mean?
I kind of got like a taste of it or something. I wouldn't be depressed all day. That's when the manic would come over sometimes too. But yeah. I know with it's like poor little me, or I'm not good enough to talk to her, or, you know, like the depressive. Yeah, I got a little bit of it too.
The circle of thoughts that just keeps you on the couch, and that meditative state helped me get off it. And I think I got off the couch and got on my bicycle, which got my body moving and got my brain getting some blood flow there and helping me to kind of progress and move forward, which ultimately got my college degree and got jobs and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, so it sounds like an English degree, like you can actually, I mean, it's a good foundation sometimes, because I think like it's got sometimes a bad reputation, like you're the English major, whatever, you can't get a job, but at the same time too, it sounds like you're doing better than a philosophy major maybe. Like,
hey, it's not a competition, but I did do the right thing compared to everybody else, of course. I think in all seriousness, like, you never underestimate the number of emails that you are going to have to write in your life. Maybe you want to write them good.
Yeah, but you're good at that, right? So
well, 6 best years of my life spent in college.
All right, thanks for sharing the story. So, let me see. If you were to learn a new language and had to choose, like, what would the language be? Would it be like, would you dedicate to learning Korean, or would you learn Spanish because you're in Los Angeles, or like, would you learn like French and like? Or like what kind of like language, if you had to choose a language to learn,
Yeah, well, I'm learning a lot of languages right now. So.
See, this man knows how to say hello in like 12 different languages, by the way, This guy's a genius, man. So.
Oh boy, yeah. Never underestimate the ability to say hello, thank you, and that's it. In multiple languages, you'll go really far.
Yeah. So in Vietnamese, like hello is like sin chao.
No, sing chao is what you say in response.
Sin chao.
King chao.
It's kin chao.
King chao, sing chao.
Okay, sometimes I screw it up. So then.
Gao mong.
Yeah.
That's
thank you is like come on.
Gao mong.
Come on. I've been learning a little bit, So.
Ni hao.
That's Chinese right there, yeah.
Ni hao ma is hello, my name is Peter.
Ni hao ma?
Dui.
Dui.
Yes.
Dui and wait a minute, in Chinese like yes is dui.
Dui.
It sounds French though.
Je parle un peu de français aussi.
See, I knew you knew some French though.
Yeah. Yo hablo the Espanol like a boss, brother.
With the German though.
I don't
remember what I told you.
I don't dabble in Dankeschöns.
Yeah, but remember what I told you I knew in that German it was like backpfeifen Gesicht, and it means like face in badly need of a fist. Watch I go to Germany and get my ass beat for saying that. It's like backpfeifen Gesicht.
I'm just gonna know my limits there.
And I said that to somebody. My roommate had a friend come visit from Germany, and she's like, "How did you know that? That makes like no sense." That
very specific idiom.
I'm sorry.
I think it's handy. I think it's going to come to you at the right time. It's going to get you out of a jam.
It was on my list of songs to write. That was the name of the song. I just didn't make the song yet.
For those of you listening along at home, I just want to provide some color commentary that right now, since the beginning of the podcast, we pre-gamed, and I agreed that I would gangster lean for the duration, and Malcolm agreed that he would sit in full lotus. So he was apologizing.
Oh, I did already.
He was apologizing for not sitting full lotus anymore. So for anybody
I got an excuse.
At home,
I got a stupid excuse for it.
Jumi, Malcolm lasted this long, and now he unbuckled. He's reaching for his LaCroix. It's black raspberry.
But I did sit for an hour today, like this morning. Though.
I'm gonna cheers your duration of your sit because it's about 18 times longer than I can do.
Thanks, man. I did make it through like episode 5. I was sitting for like the whole hour, and that was pretty cool. And then my guest, like John, he was like, "Yeah, I saw that, man. It looked like it hurt, man."
Well, John, there's
But,
one
yeah,
way to
it's
find
like-
out.
So what was the answer though? You like, would you learn Korean or like if you had
What
to?
was the answer? We didn't.
Yeah.
Answer, I didn't. That's
I mean,
one
I
of
know
my
it's a hard
faults.
question because it was like
No,
if you had to
Jeannie-
choose one language. I mean,
If my wife Jeannie is listening along at this moment, she's already been complaining in her head, Peter, you did not answer the question. Just answer the question, which is something Master will also be like, could you answer the question?
that sounds like something she would say too. So yeah, like,
Yeah,
he didn't answer the.
So 10 minutes later, Jeannie, I'm going to answer the question. Of course the answer is I'd like to learn Korean more,
Yeah,
but I'm learning Korean every day.
I like Korean. It just has a rhythm to it. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
Like the way that they speak, and then because Americans don't talk, they don't really talk like that. Like the rhythm of it, you know.
Yeah, it's a
like-
cadence.
I like that kind of it's kind of robotic to me, but I like it. I'm just weird like that, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, as we're using, as we're chanting Chinese, Vietnamese, I don't think we don't chant in Korean. I mean, there's Korean included sometimes. You know, their characters line up pretty well. It's completely different than
Oh, you mean the
Western
characters in Vietnamese and Korean are similar as far as like this?
It's like a
is
one-to-one
long.
kind of one-to-one relationship of translation. Yeah. So like when we're chanting in, or when we're doing mantras in Chinese and Vietnamese, it's like the words are the same, not the same number of words, but they're just different. Is my interpretation, knowing.
Okay, I didn't know that. And then there's one thing like the ceremonies that we do are in like pinyin. Did I say it right? Pinyin.
That's the way I would say it. We are in America.
Yeah. So it sounds like your way is the highway as far as like the way you want to say it. Like if I said that to Master Z, he'd be like, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I mean the
pinyin.
highways are
like, yeah.
federally subsidized, so take it up with the big boss. Everybody knows you say it pinyin. Pinyin being, for those of you listening along at home, the English characters that are arranged in a way to make our mouths make the sound that approximates, but is totally not correct, of what the Chinese characters or words would be.
Okay. So I mean that's pretty cool that you're like a Caucasian that knows all this like this stuff about the Asian culture.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Malcolm, because there's one thing that you and I do have in common with other Asians is that we're also Asian. Did you know that?
What do you mean, like how you're yellow on the inside, or what?
Well, that would be a reference to the fruit metaphor of a banana or an egg. But no, I'm talking about our actual Asian co-ness. You have. Let me. I'll
you
tell
talking
you.
about how you're like a disciple or
Well, no, you have Chinese Asians, Japanese Asians, Vietnamese Asians.
yeah, your nationality, and
Korean
then, yeah.
Asians, and then you have Caucasians.
You know what? We don't get enough credit for being Caucasian. Like, yeah, we are.
So I just thought I'd
Yeah.
boil it down like that because
No, I didn't. I never heard that in those words.
I
like,
don't think we do
yeah.
get the credit or the the brotherhood due, but I just wanted to paint that.
So
picture
when I
for
went
everybody.
to Houston, and the Lyft driver's like, "So what kind of Asian are you?" And I'm like, "A Caucasian or something." No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I got that because like the Lyft driver, I went to the wrong airport, and he had to pick me up and take me to the other Houston airport, and he was Vietnamese, and he was like, "So what's a random white guy doing hanging out at the Buddhist temple?" And I'm like, "Well." But then he said like something racist happened to him, and he went to like different part of Texas, like a small town, and somebody went up to him. He's like, "So, what kind of Asian are you?" And he's like, "What?" And like they paid for him to go there, and then they said he was acting like that. And I said, "Well, if they said that in Houston," he's like, "No, you get your ass beat if they said that in Houston."
Yeah, I think.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just
the
guy was a trip though. Like,
L.A. is a special place. I would say Los Angeles is a really special place. My wife is Korean, and she and her family immigrated here when she was young, and the diversity here and the representation is so cool. Everywhere we go together I'm Caucasian, she's Korean Asian. There is not the same feelings of racial tension that I think I would feel in other parts of the country.
so there's like people more respectful towards you guys, towards you, like than as opposed to like you go to Maryland or something.
Well, exactly,
Yeah.
and it's not like I'm not bashing other states, but it's just more like demographics, right? Like where I'm from, when the first time Jeannie visited Maryland, she's like she didn't see any Asian people at all in the area that I grew up in.
So it's kind of uncomfortable, or like,
well,
in a way, probably like
just like you or I noticed that we go into a Buddhist temple and we're the only Caucasians there.
No, even to me that was kind of weird at first. I was like, and I even had like a thought come in, like, do I really belong here? Like that was the thought one time, but it didn't take me too long to just get used to it. Though,
from a place of compassion and empathy, right? You can identify. You can say like, okay, if I am the only person who is of me for miles around, I notice. Right, like it's just like something you can notice. It's not like a bad or a good thing. It's just.
But at the same time, like I was the one that like I like to be different. So like I would go hang out in the black neighborhood, and then like I come here and I'll be like the only white guy at my boy Jesus' house, and I was like I want to be. So when I met you, it was like you were nice as hell to me. I was like, what are you doing here? I want to be the token white guy.
And I was like,
so
first.
Like I was here first. It was like,
not the actual conversation that happened out loud in front of Venerable XT, but close to it. No, I think it's
it was just new for me, too. But it was good.
Yeah, I just would say living in Los Angeles is so rad because there's just so much diversity here, and it, coming from the East Coast, coming from what I would personally describe as the weight of the Civil War that continues today. Like I could feel it. You grow up around all these colonial areas. You grow up around all these signposts everywhere you go. On this day, this battle. It's like, why am I being told about that every step I take? Not to mention, like, just the difficult nature of that war and the scars for our country that just never healed. And coming out here to California, I can't tell you a time that I saw a Civil War signpost on like a street corner or like in someone's yard or on someone's door.
Okay.
Being like,
I never thought of it like that. It's just how it's so different. Even the values and the clash of values with like the South, or
it's like one less thing.
You
don't like if you haven't experienced it growing up. Like I think you and I could probably share in some similar experience.
Yeah, I was from like a real like southern town, but you live there and you're just so used to just being there, you're absorbed in it.
It's just how it is, right? Like you don't know anything else. And then the first time I visited California, I was like, I felt like this weight lifted immediately. I'm like, wow,
like a lighter kind of.
Oh yeah, like it just I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't put my finger on it. At that in my early 20s when I visited, but it was like, man, I just felt like kind of liberated and free to be myself. And
you can do your own thing. It's like you said, something for everybody. And then at the same time too, that's overwhelming too, because there's just like something, there's a little bit of everything. And then there's every concert, every kind of everything. You get used to missing your favorite concerts, and then you get used to just working your ass off. And it's just like, and like you said earlier about the culture of the, people are alone and everybody's like self-interested. So I can relate to what you said about that. As Buddhism comes in, it's kind of like going against yourself. It's like, okay, well, what if I can like go against my own ego, and then that's happiness rather than like indulge in my ego?
Yeah.
Because I was raised on self-indulgence. Like I'm like you, man. I was sitting there on Christmas and watch Home Alone eat the ice cream. That's not happiness. It's more of
right.
It's
like get Joe Pesci again. The gag will not get old. I've got ice cream. I'm watching. Like it's wonderful. I totally get it. And yeah, I mean, I'm so thankful that you found the temple, and that that we know each other, and that we get to talk about this kind of thing. Because if you can find your center, and if you can find your happy place, no matter where you sit, no matter where you are, and if you have a technique or a tool like Chan meditation to help you arrive there and get there, despite how stressed out or overwhelmed you could be, it's a gift. It's something. I think we were talking about this earlier at dinner, right? Like for a large portion of my life, I was like, man, if my head could just get right for like a sustained period of time, if I just didn't feel so up and down all the time or so like scattered, I know I'd kill it. And I do have to give Chan meditation a huge shout out and plug. I'm not selling it; it sells itself. It's like a Toyota. If you can sit and cross your legs and you can feel content, and you can do something incredibly difficult and give yourself that positive reinforcement, independent of buying something, independent of the clothes you're wearing, independent of the room that you're sitting in, independent of the car that you drive, you are that much better off in your mind, in your heart, and your soul. It's something that I hope everybody who is interested to try it gets a chance to try it and see how they experience it.
I think that's also like what's missing in American culture. It's like you're focused on outside, and then Chan is you're working on inside, and then you get too wrapped up in what's outside, and you lose what the connection to yourself inside.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget the first.
You lost the reality yourself, and then
the first Dharma talk I went to, Master Yanghua. I don't know.
The pursuit of happiness outside,
That's
and how
right.
I can be happy inside.
He said the American dream is fundamentally flawed because it's the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Right? That's kind of the tenets, and the fundamental flaw with that is the presumption that you have to pursue happiness. That means happiness is outside of yourself, and it's not. Happiness is within you. You just have to find it. You don't need a Lincoln or a Cadillac or a house or a really sweet podcast setup, although it helps, to be happy. You know, happiness is within you. And that is such a profound such a profound concept that I was like, okay, I guess I'll come back to these Dharma talks. They're pretty cool.
Yes, I remember that was like one of your first Dharma talks, right?
Yeah.
And then, well, it's cool. I read that you had a website, and I read your story and everything. That was pretty cool. And it was, you're talking about like a master. He would kind of tell stories like what's the word, like the old school storytelling kind of
like a parable
experience, you know?
Yeah. Oral stories.
And,
Oral story. Like, yeah. Like,
I mean, I know it's the Dharma, but it was kind of like
traditional Southern storytelling. You know, it's like a folk tale, or like, you know, it's the oral tradition of just, you tell the same story, but it always comes out a little bit different. But the concepts are there, and that's what's really the most powerful part. Just like Plato and Socrates, and you know
Since I was like some of those Dharma talks are like about stories about the old masters that survived in the woods, and some of those are the ones I enjoy too.
Cool.
You know, the ones like, okay, and then this master like camped out on this rock, and then nobody helped him for 10 days, and then some monkeys came to give him this and that. That was really in the dark.
Thank you, monkeys.
Yeah, and then
so thoughtful of you.
And then like,
how did you know I needed this?
Yeah, to help him along the way, so he could propagate the Dharma or whatever he was doing on the way to this journey, and then that was pretty cool.
And I think something that, you know, I don't know, that I always talk about, and just like, thank you for the gift of this podcast, Malcolm, because it brings it to mind for me is.
Thanks. I mean, even stuff I kind of take for granted. I'm like, okay, we got a podcast, and this is joking around, but I mean, at the same time too, like I said, it helps you vent, and it could help the listeners kind of relate to it too, and then maybe somebody can find the Dharma, or or get into some new music or something, or whatever.
As you're cultivating and you're building your own progress and your own cultivation path, like, you're able to help lift other people up just by them being around you, and something that when you're listening to Dharma talks from a Chan master, that's someone who attains that level because they can do things that you can't. They have compassion that we don't have. They have wisdom we can't comprehend. And just by being in their proximity, you improve and you gain, you progress. And until you experience it, it's like, yeah, okay, nice words. Cool, next. But
yeah, I'd say you have to go there in person if you like
that. Watching on YouTube is one thing, right? And like, that's cool. Like,
yeah, you can still get the vibe on YouTube, and there's something.
There's definitely something there. Yeah, I mean, the audio's good,
there,
right? Yeah, but like, I mean, if you want to, like, I remember I was telling Andres.
Shout out to Andreas.
Yeah, Alta D, que pasa?
Alta D. Okay, what did I say there?
I remember I suggested him one time, I'm like, Andres, dude, bro, you see those seats up there that are right up front, like 8 feet from Master? He's like, yeah. I'm like, have you ever tried sitting in them? He's like, no.
Well, you can't unless you're like the higher level.
The one's right behind where the monks sit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, man, I don't want to do that. I'm like ratting him out a little bit right now, but I'm not. And I'm like, well, I mean, bro, I'm not saying that you have to. I'm just saying that I've done it. And I'm just saying, just try drawing close to your good knowing advisor. He's like, I don't know, man. And so like, he sat up there with me one time.
It sounds kind of like him too.
He sat up there with me one time.
And
Where
more
does he-
energy,
Where does he sit now?
Yeah, he does sit a little bit closer. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's like a proximity effect,
Okay.
to drawing close to a good knowing advisor, to drawing close to the Dharma speaker, because they just emit light, they emit good energy, and you feel at peace, and it's rad.
Yeah, it's hard to describe it, but it's like it's energy, So
I would describe it as feeling at ease. You feel at ease, and that can help you rest in physical and spiritual ways.
even feeling at ease like that for like 2 seconds is amazing. Like considering the stuff we got to go through at work just to.
You can't drink
Just to
enough,
survive,
smoke enough,
yeah,
eat enough, sleep enough to feel like that.
Yeah, and then kind of what you said earlier about like people coming to you at work or something. Or I mean, sometimes like my job is super hardcore. So at the end of the day, you're around people or before you're about to go home, and then sometimes I'll just like listen to somebody for 2 minutes, and that might be good. I mean, I can.
You just help them.
Yeah,
and their
just yeah, that's helping.
exponentially,
Yeah, that's
brother.
helping out more than it is to be like, well, in my opinion, I've had the same experience. Just shut up and just let them kind of blow off some steam. So.
Let people vent. It's a huge gift.
So I forgot what I was gonna say, man. I definitely want to have you back on to the episode. I mean, the
Oh.
show again, like on season 2. So yeah.
I'm so proud of what you're doing here. I'm thankful for the gift of this podcast. I think you got
You're welcome, man.
a really cool mission that you're doing here, and I encourage you to keep making good mistakes, having on cool people, having on people who are boring. Just
Yeah, I
letting
want
people
to.
vent.
Actually,
I think
one
it's
of my
rad,
goals is to have on people that I don't like or I don't like that I don't agree with. Because I mean, I'm kind of. It's a challenge to myself because like I've been like a self-centered person for like most of my life. Like thinking I was God and whatever. And
Yeah.
then, so then.
Well, I'm honored that I
Yeah,
might be
like,
the first person that you don't agree with. We already set that
I'm
up
not-
at the beginning of the podcast. I chose Gangs of New York, and you
okay.
chose There Will Be Blood.
And
Like,
I didn't
agree to
get
disagree.
offended by it.
I mean, look at that. Box checked.
And then
Bring
I
on
have
the next.
I got a respect for your choice and everything.
I mean, that's a big. I was impressed. With that.
Oh yeah, I do know my question. Like this will be like my last question to you. And did you have like a certain point that you wanted to choose some like a teacher that hardcore as Master Young Hua and not go to like Thich Nhat Hanh? How you say it? Thich Nhat Hanh, and like talking about loving yourself and breathing and like how come you're like more hardcore than somebody that would choose a softer path, being American, or or being like or choose Hinduism or more of the mindfulness? Like, what's your take on that?
Sure. Yeah, I think like the story I was telling you earlier. I had these ingrown toenails, and the lady said, "Why don't you go to this Buddhist temple?" And then I was like, "This is cool." And then it was so cool, I didn't look anywhere else. I was
Okay,
like,
so
this
like,
is
hey,
cool.
you were like grateful for like just the whole experience and encountering that's something that intense. Like that time when he snapped his fingers and he told like Master XC like teach him to sit
Take
half
that
loaded. Yeah,
tall, loud,
Yeah,
pale
dude,
face
yeah.
out of here. He doesn't know what he's doing. I think. No, I mean, I've definitely spoken with other Buddhist monks, but I haven't felt the need to look for another good knowing advisor.
No, I mean, like not even in the early. Like now, I know where you're at now, but back in the day, you're like, no, I'm good. You're like,
yeah, I mean, at that point, like I was really looking for a way to work with people better, and so I wasn't like looking for a good knowing advisor. I didn't know what that was.
So you just like randomly went in and you're like, hey, I like this, and then
Again,
it helped out you.
I had ingrown toenails, and the lady who was helping me with those sent me to this Buddhist temple to look at Buddhist relics.
So are you really this weird or what?
I'm just telling. I'm
No,
trying to
that's
answer
good.
the question, Malcolm. My
Okay,
wife wants
okay.
me to answer questions.
Okay, thanks for answering. I was expecting something like a different kind of style answer, so that was my fault. I was like,
Oh, really? What kind of style were you hoping for?
not like, hey, I had the toenail, and I'm like, okay, and then I walked to the Buddhist temple, and they're like, hey,
I didn't
like
walk there. I
this.
drove. I had a '97 4Runner that carried me across country and also brought me to this temple, which I'll always be thankful for that machine. Miss that truck.
Because when I found the Dharma, I walked in, and it was
Who was there?
like a venerable Shintong, like she hey, come in, we're gonna listen to this, and then it was like, your house, your car, your family. It's just a dream. And I'm like, man, I like this guy. You know, it was like, this makes sense to me. This makes sense to me. Yeah. It was like,
Cool.
but yeah, it was intense. So
What you did?
But kind of like it kind of like reminded me is like myself, like what I wanted to be like. I want to be like that. Like, oh, like that sounds like me. What I was thinking, but he was
on
like,
it.
yeah, and then, yeah, it was more intense than like watching a concert or a movie. Or it was, you know, it wasn't like a church either. Even though it used to be a church, it was the Dharma. You can't it's incontrovertible. You can't explain it. You know,
Inconceivable. Are you sure you know what that word means?
Yeah, it was in the philosophy book.
It's a Princess Bride. That's Princess Bride quote.
Inconceivable? Or
inconceivable.
Oh, no, not that.
I don't know that you are using that word the way it is supposed to. Inconceivable.
Wait a minute, who was in that? That was Robin Hood was in it, right? Carrie Elves or somebody? Or
yeah, the wrestler.
Princess Bride, it was like 1992.
Andre the Giant was in that. He carried them up the cliffs of madness.
All right, so any shout outs or anything before we go? Shout out to Korea and what they're doing in Spain too.
안녕하세요. 사랑해요.
Yeah, some Dharma propagation.
감사합니다.
Some Dharma propagation going on in Spain right now too. Venerable Shannon.
And a gentle reminder to Venerable Shen Shin, if she is still listening at this point, I did recommend The Princess Bride. It's a very good movie. I recommend watching it, as you wish.
All right, so I'm going to conclude this episode. This is Los Angeles Chronicles. You heard Peter Salvia. You heard some of his story coming from Maryland, being an Angelino now. And that's the end of his story for now. We're definitely going to have him on season 2 of Los Angeles Chronicles. And thanks for listening. Thank you.